this one?
Oh, it does.
Color.
I think it's blue.
All right, I'm going to mess you up then. Okay, thermometer ports.
Oh.
Okay. In case that you run in a circuit that's the same color. All right? So, got your inspiratory hose, expiratory hose, patient Y. Okay? This is your flow sensor. So I'll have this all taken apart for your checkoff. All right? Inspiratory hose. Try to maintain sterility if you can. It's going to go here. There's an arrow on this elbow pointing down, meaning to the patient. All right? Occasionally those elbows will get changed out. On the right-hand side is the inspiratory side. Expiratory side, here. Patient Y. Doesn't really matter which goes in which. Now your connections you don't have to jam it in like Godzilla or whatever, okay? Just put them in snug. Your flow sensor, like that. The cable for your flow sensor plugs in. It's metal on metal, so you'll see a little pin and plug in like that. It's almost kind of idiot-proof, if you will. And then normally this is going to attach to an ET tube adapter. Okay. Normally you won't have a fake lung, you'll have a real set of lungs. All right. So the circuit on this isn't too hard. In real life, you'd have a short hose that would go to a humidifier. You think on the inspiratory side or the expiratory side? Okay, you don't need a humidifier on the expiratory side. So on the inspiratory side, you have a humidifier, and then the main hose coming off the humidifier. So on your checkoff sheet, that's why that's on there.
Yeah, so there would be a hose from the right side down to the humidifier, then from there to the...
Right. And they would be blue also. All right, power switch. It's in the back. It's got a safety shield here. Okay. I did have one person once, because what happens sometimes when you practice is you come to practice and somebody leaves it on. I did have one person once that failed that whole first section because they didn't know how to turn the ventilator on. Okay. So in the back, make sure you know how to turn the power on, because we'll start from scratch here. All right, this is where I'll switch to. I'll see if I can focus this part a little bit better for you. Maybe just bringing it closer. Okay. As some of you found out, the confirm, unlike the XL and the I that you were playing with, the confirm is just to get rid of or confirm the message it's trying to give you in the front. O2 calibration is done automatically. You can do an O2 cal, but really every time you do an O2 cal, it burns your sensor up a little bit quicker. So let the machine do it. We won't do one during the checkoff. I'll have you simulate one. Notice here, it's flashing. The flow sensor needs to be calibrated. All right. You won't get any readings on your flow demanding measurements like tidal volume and things like that until you do that. So to do that, you go to cal config right here, farthest left soft key. Press that under v.cal. Here, and then it will say start right here. I typically, sometimes it tells you to, but I think it's a good idea to take your flow sensor out, because what you're doing is zeroing it. So you don't want a lot of flow going through this while you calibrate it. And let's start over again here. And it takes just a few seconds. Flow sensor calibrated. Okay. And then what I'll probably have you do is go back to your cal config. There's O2 cal. So if you just change out a new O2 cell, you need to calibrate it. It's the same process. You just press that there. I'm going to quickly reset our alarms. Okay. Verify tight system. There's different ways you can do that. You could look at your leak percentage on your measured screen. That will. That's what I was thinking about doing, Kelly. I need a book or something.
You're gonna put this on your site. Which site though?
Let's see if this will work. There's no way to raise the arm other than artificially. So you can see this is not a ventilator you want to try to work with while sitting down, unlike some of the others. Whoa. Is that better? This will be funny if this falls off of here in the middle of. Okay, I got ET tube obstructed, leaking hose. This is what happened. My inspiratory hose came off. Okay. That's pretty much it for the first section. For most everything, every section I have a troubleshooting correct. It's not asterisk. It's if something comes up and you can't figure out what's wrong, or you do something a little minor wrong, that's where that applies. Remember, if it's asterisk on the checkoff and you don't do it or don't know how to do it, you fail the whole section. So like I said, the person that didn't, the only thing in that first section is knowing how to turn it on. So that's 10 points for that section. They got a 0, so they're at 90% already just by not knowing how to turn it. You could make a case if you don't know how to turn it on, you should get a 0 for the whole checkoff. All right, set up an assist control mode with specified orders rate Title 1. So those of you that didn't hear me on Friday, I have cards that I'll have a card with just the settings, which will be similar to the practice checkoff sheet that I gave you. So somebody want to give me some orders? What do I need? We know we need mode, assist control. I think I need a rate.
40.
Rate of 40. Very bottom, title volume, keep it 3.
Title volume of what?
10.
10 sounds good.
10.
This long is that's a good title volume for that one there. And then
Keep it 3. 4.
4, and then an FiO2. Okay, those sound pretty good. All right, on this ventilator here, most everything's in front of you to get started. All right. Which one now? Okay. Nothing on here, for the most part, is determined by the order that you do it. In other words, you can do it in most any order. That first section especially is, it's like we're getting the ventilator ready, there's no patient on it yet. All right, so they've called you, you're in NICU, we've got these settings, and you get them ready for the baby when we bring them down. So if you want to do that first, that's fine. I would say if you think of something, do it. Because if you say, well, I'll just do that later, that's what happens a lot, is you just forget to do it. And you do everything else, oh, I forgot to switch the mode. If you tell me I'm done and you're not in the right mode, you're going to fail that section. All right, so how do we change the mode? Go to vent mode down here. All right, what mode? All right, let's change it to the right language first.
I said that earlier.
American. Why keep on thinking?
So this is not something you'll have to do. I'll do it, although you'll probably know how to do it by then. I don't know this is the first year this ventilator's ever done this with the default to the Queen's
Change your
English.
default.
All right, so we'll go back. So, vent mode, what do we want? Okay. And then notice it's flashing on. Oh, good, you can see that. So we just kind of confirm it there. All right? So now we're covered there. I would recommend you set your PEEP fairly early on, because if you set your other stuff and then haven't changed your PEEP and have to change that, it's going to mess up a lot of other stuff. So if you go to your, I like the list screen, the settings screen. I think Kevin and I were talking about this. I'm fairly, when it comes to ventilators, I'm kind of a perfectionist. We said 4, right?
Yes, sir.
So if you notice the PEEP, now there'll be some things where I'll finally say, okay, that's good enough. But I'm going to try to get 4.0 there. All right, so our PEEP's good. The other thing you might want to set early on is your inspiratory flow. Ideas?
Inspiratory flow or 8?
This one down here. 8? I like 8 better than 10 where it is now. That will probably be determined by the size of your baby. Typically a bigger baby, you want a little more flow, especially if you're in a spontaneous breathing mode.
It's a little more 10.
Yeah. So a 4-kilo baby, I would go more with a 10. You don't want to shortchange them on the flow if they're taking spontaneous breaths. Okay. What else? Okay. This is going to be a little tricky, so what I would do is switch to a flow curve. Let me go back and show you how to do that. So if you go to graph, this is our home screen, right? I go to graph, my choices are pressure or flow, right? I would select a flow curve, and I would set my inspiratory time first. And when I set my inspiratory time, I prefer to not have a lot of pause time there, or much of a gap between my inspiratory flow and my expiratory flow. So how would I get rid of that gap? Shorten my inspiratory time. So this is one of the other 3 things that's nice about the Babylog. It gives us real-time measurements. So if I shorten my inspiratory time, you'll watch those 2 curves get closer together. And that looks pretty. The other thing we're doing here is making more of a sine curve and less of a square curve on our pressure curve. All right? Maybe a little bit of pause, but I like that. Let's see what our rate is now. If we go to our list screen, the settings, I knew I was going to be pretty close. My rate is 38. What do we want? What do I need to do? I go with my expiratory time. All right? Which way? That way, right? Okay, you're right, which is also lower. All right, again, I want it to be about perfect. So now I have my set inspiratory time. I have my set expiratory time. To give me my rate of 40. I need a better grinder. Okay, I have my PEEP. All right. This is pretty much the order I would do it in. What else do I need to do?
Volume, total volume.
Okay, we wanted a volume of 10. What's my current volume?
7.8.
Okay, good. So what do I need to do? I'm not doing volume ventilation. I'm actually doing pressure ventilation now.
Increase the pressure.
Get my PEEP up. Good. You guys are ready. Now what you need to do with this ventilator is turn it a little bit, give it a couple seconds to get up there. Don't expect to see it right away, because I'm turning a setting and it's giving me a measurement based on my setting. So it's going to take a little bit of delay. Looks like I need to go up a little bit more. And a little bit more. Now this is one where I'm not going to try to get it so that it's 10.0 on every breath. I'll be here. Well, you guys will all be gone, and I'll still be here. Let's put it that way.
Okay, you just set your PEEP at 4 and leave it at that. It's close enough to 10.
Well, this is why I want to set my PEEP first, because if I go back now and change my PEEP, I'm going to mess up my tidal volume. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. 10.2, 9.9. This is the problem with pressure ventilation, is my tidal volume is going to bounce. What else? Okay, and that's found where? Right down here. We can go back to my settings screen if you want. And what do we say, 35? Set it at 35. Sometimes my progressive lenses are tricking me when I get at this angle. All right, let's see what our measured oxygen percentage is, 32. So we're off 33. That's got, I think, has to be a departmental protocol or rule, whatever you want to call it. Everybody should be doing the same. I would prefer to go by the measured oxygen percentage. So with that in mind, we'll do it. I'm going to turn this up to my measured. Keep in mind, most electrochemical analyzers are plus or minus 1 or 2% anyway in their accuracy.
So if you're shooting for 35, you could hit 34, 36.
Yeah. I mean, if it stays at, yeah, see, I'm bumping a little bit between 35, 36. What else do I need to do?
The moisture, the section of volume.
I have my inspiratory time, expiratory time, my flow, got my tidal volume, O2% PEEP, my trigger level. Okay, vent options, the soft key down here. Here's my trigger. That's way too high for a neonate. Let's set it about 1.3. Okay. So press my negative key. There's 1.0. I'll back it off to 1.3. That's how much flow the neonate has to generate so the machine knows what they want a breath. So you want to make sure you set that. That's one of those things you'll just have to remember. So put an underline under set trigger level. You just have to remember that in section 1. Once we set in that section, we're done. We'll just leave it there. Okay? Minute volume alarm. Yeah, let's do the alarms.
That's what it takes to trigger alarm.
Okay, so here's my alarm screen. These are pretty much all the alarms you can set on the Babylog. Our current minute volume is 0.39. We have an alarm that will go off if it goes above our high limit or below our low limit. There's a handy key here that's plus or minus 30%. That's not a bad place to start. I usually use that. I know this is on tape. I usually use that as a start and then look at the numbers I have there. Is that a good place to have the settings for? In other words, if my baby slows down or we have a leak or something like that and it drops below 0.28, is that tight enough? Or if they breathe extra or get extra volume, extra rate they're breathing on their own, is 0.50. And I think that's, back. I think those are pretty good numbers, really. I think plus or minus 30% on that is at least in this population, is pretty good.
So
Our
your
apnea
target
delay.
was 40, right?
Pardon me?
Your target was 40?
Our target would be 0.39 is what we're getting. Our target would be, yeah, about 0.40, 40 breaths a minute times 10 milliliters.
And if they drop below 3.8, it's going to go off, and they go above what?
0.50,
Okay.
what it says there. Alarm delay, 0 seconds. To get over there, we just hit this key. I'm going to turn that up to 5. Apnea time, in other words, how long did they have to be apneic for before we get that? That's too short. 15's not bad. I might even go up to 20. Okay, and then the last thing are to get the alarm. Do we want that off? Probably not. We're on a rate of 40. What breathing rate do we want to know about if the baby hits it? 60?
50 or 60.
Since we're in assist control, I'd probably go with 50.
We already have alarm set at 50, so you're going to...
Well, that's for minute volume,
Oh,
though.
still, we got alarm.
But it's totally different. Okay? So 50, since we're in is where I would pick. Now, I'll leave a lot of those up to you. You have to decide. And then there's one last thing there, and that's activate the Vivy. Mercy, where you're going to use the Babylog, they used to use the Vivy. They really don't use it much anymore. So I'm just going to have you do it in the first section so you know where it is. Under vent options, the Vivy here, it actually stands for inspiratory flow, expiratory flow. You can set the expiratory flow different than the inspiratory flow. So right now our inspiratory flow is 8 liters per minute. If I activate the Vivy now, our expiratory flow will only be 1 liter per minute. In other words, the baby only has to exhale against a flow of 1 liter per minute. So I'd just say turn it to 5, okay? It's kind of like my alarm clock. If you hold it down, it goes faster. And then on, and then you confirm it by saying that says assist control plus 5E. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the theory. And then I'll probably tell you to go ahead and turn it back off. Okay. So to find it again, vent options, it will be, you have your choice of Vivy, volume guarantee, or trigger level is under vent options. For the most part, on the written exam, I don't ask you a lot of questions about where things are found on the ventilator, even though it's part of your objectives, because I can test you that on the checkoff. All right, then our alarms. Look pretty good? All right, now we fly through the checkoff. This is probably the first 10 to 15. And now we go fast. So change ventilator to new rate. What do you think? Give me a number.
45.
What'd you say, Kim?
45.
45, okay. 50's okay. Just be prepared for anything so, how am I going to change my rate? I'm comfortable with my inspiratory time. I'm going to leave it alone. My other choice is my expiratory time. I'm going up in my rate. What do I want to do with my expiratory time? Okay, there's my list screen. I just want to decrease my expiratory time until I get a rate of 4. And if you guys jump over, that's okay. I want to make sure you go the right way with that knob. You should think about it. This is in clinical where people get into a lot of trouble. They want to turn the knob and then think about it. Okay? Think about it before you turn the knob, because right now we're on a baby. Everything we turn affects the baby right away. There's my rate of 45. Okay? How's my tidal volume? Now let's go to our measured stream. Pretty much the same.
Right, Larry, go back one.
That one? Or my list?
Your list, I'm sorry. Okay. What does it say, third one down?
F set?
Okay.
That's the one you're looking for here. It should be
Okay.
45. All right. What happened to my minute volume, do you think? Went up, right? We turned up the rate. More breaths, more minute volume. I'm just going to plus minus 30% on my minute volume alarm. We should be done with that section because our tidal volume stayed the same. Change ventilator to new rate. Another new rate. A lot of our ventilator changes are rate changes, so we've got a few on this checkup. Let's go down this time, okay? Let's go down to a rate of 30. Again, I'll just show you new card. It'll say change rate to 30. All right. So what do I need to do? I'm sticking with my same inspiratory time. Now we want to increase our expiratory time. Let's pull up our settings screen. And again, we're going to go down to 30. That looks like about 30 to me. If we look at our numbers, I ended up with 0.28, and I have an expiratory time of 1.7. That's pretty close to my 2-second total cycle time. All right. Go back. If I look at my minute volume, I'm going lower than my and then I was going to say in about 5 seconds I'm going to get my alarm. So let's reset that. Now I have some better alarm settings for that particular minute volume. Okay. It's the next section. Tidal volume still okay. Shouldn't really change. We didn't change our inspiratory time, our flow, our PIP. Should have the same tidal volume, right? 10.2 again. Or still. New tidal volume. We're still in assist control. What am I going to do? Let's say I want a tidal volume of 12. I'm okay with where my inspiratory time is. I'm okay with where my PEEP is. What's that? I'll change my rate. I want to leave my rate where it is. The PIP, right? This is the problem with pressure ventilation is we're going to use our PIP and hopefully get a change in our tidal volume. So, what did I say, 12? All right, up or down? Up, right? I'm just going to sneak it up a little bit. I'd rather be too low than to overshoot it and then have to back off. There's 10.9, 11.4. I'm going to keep my hands off now. I could if I really wanted to be. I'm going to stick there. Oh, 11.9, 12.0, I don't know that I'm going to get, my fingers are just not that fine to get it any better than that. All right, what else do I need to change? My alarm. While this checkoff is going to be making the change, going back to the alarm screen, which is this one here with the up and down arrow key. It's just a symbol. I don't know why it doesn't say alarms, but that's just what they decided to do. When I designed my own ventilator, after I write my book,
early retirement.
All right, so now I have a new tidal volume, new minute volume. My rate stayed the same. I used my PIP to increase my tidal volume. What's next? Okay, now we're going to add, I changed this checkoff a lot, so we're going to add volume guarantee. Okay? Getting a little more tricky now, although this is used pretty frequently. Let's say we want to go to 14 milliliter tidal volume with the volume guarantee.
So you go into a different value.
We're going to stay in sys control, and it's called a sys control plus volume guarantee. All right? All right, so vent options. Here's my volume guarantee. Right now it's set at 12, so I'm glad I picked a number other than 12. All right, and I want to go to 14. All right, is it activated? No, I can tell because it's not, it should be up in here. So there's on, and now I'm activated. All right? Okay. It's always a good idea to double check your tidal volume, measured tidal volume. Ah, you spoiled it. Well, not really. What's my tidal volume reading? Huh. Lo and behold, it's at 12. And my ventilator is telling me yeah, it's basically what's telling me is the volume guarantee is not guaranteed right now. All right? And it gives you a little help in that it shows the 3 knobs you need to address to get it. It says tidal volume low, check settings. All right? Now, if you remember what we did before, we set the PIP to get a tidal volume of 12. Well, we need a PIP that will give us a tidal volume of 14 now. Okay? So I need to go up on my PIP, and as I do that, we should be able to guarantee my volume guarantee. I like that. Now, we're getting to pretty dangerously high PIPs now, so these tidal volumes might be a little bit tough on this lung. I'm going to back up on it. On the back of the practice settings, there's some hints about the Babylog. Make sure you take a look at those, and we're going to go over one of those now. Okay, do I have a tidal volume of 14?
Yes.
Pretty much on the money, right? What kind of peak pressure is it requiring to get a tidal volume of 14? 34, okay? Which is a lot. This is almost like PRVC now. Do I want to give a little cushion that if the ventilator has to raise that PIP anymore, it can do it? Okay. This is where I dial in about a cushion of 2 or 3 centimeters of water. So I know it's taken 34 to get what I want. Let's go back to our settings screen. My set PIP is about 34, so there's no cushion there. If it needs more pressure to get 14, the ventilator's not going to do it. It's going to do what it did before. So let's dial this up to maybe 36, because we're too high already on pressures, I think. 5 or 6. Somebody's been touching my screen with our screen with their fingers and smudging it. All right. So that's where on the back of that sheet it says to set your cushion or set your PIP 2 or 3 above what it's taking. Okay, we changed the tidal volume. We changed the minute volume. Notice our alarm settings now. The high one is pretty tight. So let's bring our low one up higher, set our high one down or up a little bit more in range what our current minute volume is. Now in real life, when you're working with the real baby, I want you to think about these ventilator alarm settings a little bit more. But for the most part, I think this is a pretty good range. If I have a baby that I know if they get disconnected or if their minute volume drops, they're going to crash immediately, I'm probably setting this low minute volume alarm a little bit tighter. If I have a baby that I really want to know if they start to hyperventilate or become tachypnic, I may be setting this, so that there needs to be a little more thought going into this. All right, change to SIMV mode. Let's change SIMV, let's change the rate to 35. All right, we'll keep the volume guarantee on for now. So it's basically just a mode change. SIMV, turn it on. We confirm that it changed up there. Okay, we'll go back. I wanted a rate change, so I'm going to go to my settings screen. I'm still just going to use my expiratory time. We're not going to mess with inspiratory time unless I order you to. I want to go up in my rate, so I'm going to go down in my time to 35. Go back, I'm going to speed up here a little bit. Reset my alarms, which aren't too much different.
When you start changing and you go and set your alarms, does the vent pretty much calculate the setting for you, or the plus or minus?
It will calculate the alarms, yes, it does plus or minus 30%.
Okay.
Yeah, it does that for you. Okay, change another rate change. Like I said, a lot of rate change. Let's change the rate to 50. Question mark?
Yeah, you still got your volume guarantee on?
Yeah. I was thinking, does it say discontinue the volume guarantee?
It doesn't say.
All right, we'll do that in the next section. How does that sound? All right, let's keep the tidal volume at 14 and discontinue the volume guarantee and change to a rate of, what did I say, 50? So we can go ahead and change to our new rate. Bring up our settings screen. I'm going up in my rate, so down in my time. There's my rate of 50. I still want a tidal volume of, I'll go to my measured screen, 14. Alright, I'll take off the volume guarantee, then options, volume guarantee, off. Okay. Now, let's go back and look at our tidal volume. My tidal volume is now 14.6, 14.7. Remember I set that cushion? Okay, now I'm ventilating at a PIP of 37. Okay, so let's turn that back down to 34. It should be about 14. Catch our alarms again, look at our minute volume with a rate of 50 is really high now. We'll reset that. Not too bad. I might go up a little bit on the low minute volume just because we have a baby on a rate of 50. They're pretty sick. Let's set that a little bit tighter on the low side. That's a judgment call. Again, I'm going to turn the oxygen percentage down too, just to save oxygen. All right, so if you take off the volume guarantee, you might have your PIP. You might have to readjust your PIP. New inspiratory time. Let's do an inspiratory time of 0.4. Okay, let's bring up our list. We can use our settings screen. What's going to happen when I turn my inspiratory time to 0.4? My rate's going to drop. Okay, I'm still going to do that first. Will I go inverse if I do that?
Yeah.
I'm on 0.28 now. I'm going to go up by 0.12. So I can afford to go down by 1.2. In fact, that's what I'm going to do on the other one. So Let's get a nice clean 0.4. Again, I'm going to get this perfectly. My rate's now 45. Let's adjust this to 50, which should be about 0.40 and 8.80. Again, I'm going to get that perfect too. So now I have a rate of 50. Let's go back. Notice I have a little gap there now, and I don't know, alarms are about the same. How's my tidal volume? 14.2. Could go down on a pip just a hair if we still want 14. If you need to go back and look at a card, that's fine. You know, typically you're not going to change anything unless I tell you to. Check your tidal volume frequently to make sure it's set right. Pressure support mode. Again, mode change. Vent mode. PSV is pressure support ventilation. It's a little bit different on this ventilator. Okay, now we're in PSV. The big difference with pressure support on this is it allows the baby to do their own inspiratory time. Okay. So we're still setting a rate, which in my mind doesn't make it pressure support anymore. We'll leave the rate the same. Set the pressure support level, which is your PIP. Let's say we want a tidal volume of 11. Okay. Go to list, measure. My tidal volume is 14. I want a tidal volume of 11. We're at 50 now, right? What do I need to do? Go down on my PIP, right? What'd you say?
Should go out.
Yeah, you're right. I'm probably going to get an alarm here any second now. I should have set that for classroom. I should have set the alarm delay a little tighter. I'm going to go with that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and set my alarms, and we're below in 5 seconds, and we beat it. Okay. And again, that's probably pretty good. Now, there's something in pressure support. If you go to your list and your measure 2 screen, that shows us what our actual inspiratory time. In other words, the actual time the baby's taking is 0.3. What's my setting? 0.4. So in this mode, the inspiratory time is an actual limit, a limit on the time. So the baby can take longer if they want to, but it'll limit it to 0.4 seconds.
Before the vent kicks in.
Well, it'll stop. In other words, if you have that set too tight and the baby feels like taking a point, in this case, 0.40, if they feel like taking a 0.45 inspiratory time, it'll cut them off. So you want to make sure you don't have that set too tight. Try to get a really nice long breath here. Yeah, that counted that one as 2. There we go. So if most of my breaths are 0.40, and that's what my inspiratory time is set at, you might want to give them a little more time. You may be limiting their inspiratory time. So I would look at this. It's under measure 2. It's one of the few things, at least for the checkoff, we're going to look under measure 2. 0.3 is what the baby's doing. We have this at 0.4. That's probably okay. If you're really cautious, you could maybe back off to 0.45. Yeah, we're talking babies here, so hundredths of a second actually kind of count. Volume guarantee, it's kind of the same thing. Options, volume guarantee. Let's say we want to make the tidal volume 12.
What's it say on there?
11. So we're going to make it 12.
It's on 11.
We'll make our volume guarantee 12. Activate the volume guarantee. Okay. Check our tidal volume. And it's 10.8. Again, I need to go up on my peak inspiratory pressure.
the 2 to 3 over.
I will. It's a good point. Now I'm going to look and see what my pip is. For 12, it's about 30. All right? So now I'm going to go to my settings screen, and I want to set my pip at about 33. Now that gives me my cushion if the ventilator has to increase the pressure to get the tidal volume. Haven't checked our alarms in a while. Still look pretty good. Back home. Change the PEEP level. Let's go to a PEEP of 5. No, let's go to 6. Change the PEEP of 6. Again, I'm going to bring up my settings screen. That looks like a PEEP of 6 there. What do I want to double check? Okay, good. All right. What are we supposed to be? Not too bad. How's my cushion? My measured pip is 33. My set pip is 33. So the increase in PEEP basically took away my cushion. Do you want a cushion? You have to play with the patient a little bit. I mean, look at the patient. Again, we're at a higher pressure, so I'd be leery of a cushion, but for demonstration purposes, we'll put in a cushion. So go up on my PIP. I'd just take 2 this time, so go up to 35. You know, you could take the approach that I don't want to go above 33 no matter what. You tell me if the baby's starting to get less compliant or whatever, or needs to be suctioned or whatever, and it's going up right away. Okay. Alarms. We didn't really change the rate or tidal volume much, so our alarm should be about the same. Which it is. For now, it's just a good idea to recheck your alarms after every section and recheck your tidal volume. Change the CPAP. Baby's doing wonderful. We're going from a rate of 50 to CPAP here. Okay? Again, a mode change. CPAP. We'll turn it on. You go to CPAP, you better have a baby breathing. Do a CPAP of 5. All right, I'm going to bring up my list screen. My setting, PEEP is now CPAP. Yeah, I know. Sean, you didn't warn me that time.
Well, when you go CPAP, you have to turn the alarms on.
Yeah, and then I'll breathe for you when we go to CPAP. I'll be your patient, so you don't have to worry about that. And then I would like to get it exactly 5. Oh, we're okay. Never mind. All right, so now we want to go check our alarms. If I have a baby on CPAP, I'm probably going to set my alarms a little less tight because it could be all over the place. So I might set this at 0.15 and this at 0.60 or something like that. I think the tachypnea alarm becomes more important now, what their breathing rate's going to be. Do I want to know if they hit 50? Do I want to know if they hit 60?
Oh, 55.
That's up to you, as long as what you tell me makes sense. If you say 80, I'm probably going to look at you a little funny. All right, last section there. CPAP with nasal prongs. We really haven't talked about this at all. All right, so we're going to use the Babylog basically for a CPAP machine. All right, remember I have continuous flow on this. All right, let's say I want to go to CPAP of 3. Back to 3, okay? List, setting, and this one's set up so about the lowest it will go is 3. I know. Okay, if I go nasal prongs, what am I doing with the ET tube? Pulling it out, okay? The other thing I'm going to do, take the flow sensor out. Put on our nasal prongs, okay, for the baby. And we're also going to unplug the flow sensor in the back. Sorry, Jason. There we go. Okay? We're basically going to dumbify the machine, if you will. Now it's going to say flow measurement disturbed. So a lot of stuff we were using is no longer going to be available. We just confirm it. Notice it says there's no flow sensor in there.
Turn all your alarms on too.
Well, they'll automatically go off that's why you want to unplug it in the back. Otherwise, you'll get alarms continuously. So now I better have some other monitoring devices to tell me how my baby's doing because there's nothing here. But I can feel, it feels kind of good, the continuous flow coming out of there. Sorry, that part was it. So yes, you should be able to get through this in a half an hour with some practice. And again, I won't be explaining or asking as many questions. I'll just be watching what you're doing and what buttons you push. Anybody besides Carla signed up for Monday?